Welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix Detroit. We're going to jump into the middle match here between William Huey Jensen and Jacob Wilson. Now, Jacob, I think you had a funny story about Jacob Wilson.
I mean, Jacob Wilson has not yet won a match in this tournament. Well, I mean, his team is 9-1, but he is 0-10. And I mean, he's only lost 7 matches, actually, because his other 2 teammates have won both matches before he finished in 3 of them. But Pardee was pretty adamant about saying that, you know, if you haven't won a match and we're in round 11, you're 0-10. So Jacob Wilson here being a great moral support for Sam Pardee and Matt Nass this weekend, and they're making a really deep run here, still in the top 4 teams, standings-wise.
Number 11 ranked Jacob Wilson, by the way. Both players are starting out pretty aggressively here. Looks like Jacob Wilson got a hit in with the Goblin Glory Chaser and followed up with Dragon Fodder, majoring bully for William Jensen. Now we watched you watched William in the last round, and he was on mono red. Is that correct?
That is correct. He had an extremely aggressive mono red deck, and he was able to just run over Luis Scott Vargas in the first game. And you know, it looked like it could be close at one point, but then he just sealed the deal very easily. In post-boarded games, Luis had sideboarded in a ton of life gain cards, Cleric of the Forward Orders, Aven Battle Priest. And by using all of those cards, he was able to really just make Huey's cards a lot worse than they're supposed to be. And when you're trying to deal somebody 20 points as fast as possible and it suddenly becomes 35, things are rough.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have 2 aggressive matchups here. Jacob Wilson putting Infectious Bloodlust on one of his Goblin tokens from that Dragon Fodder. Now, how do you think this is going to play out post-sideboard? Are they going to go more control-y? Are they going to try to go underneath again? Or is it going to be similar to the last round we saw with Huey?
Well, Huey is mono red, so he doesn't really have much options, much in the way of options to combat, you know, in another aggressive strategy. Whereas Jacob Wilson has access to these white cards, so he could be bringing in cards like Cleric of the Forward Order, cards like Aven Battle Priest, or you know, even just random pump spells that interact well against Huey's more expensive burn spells.
Sure. Looks like Huey opted to take all the damage there. Goblin Glory Chaser doing some real work, especially on the play. See if Huey can follow up anything to help stabilize. I think he has a Dragon Fodder of his own and a Titan Strength, it looks like. All right, so we're going to see a bunch of Goblins. Of course, triggering Prowess there.
Now, this is a really fast start from Jacob Wilson here. Being on the play seems to be very important, especially because he was able to turn in that Goblin Glory Chaser and not have to mess up his tempo by using a removal spell in the second turn. He could continue to apply pressure with a card like Dragon Fodder.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, do you think he's going to take out the Glory Chaser if he's on the draw?
I think it's largely dependent on what else is in your deck. If you have a number of Subterranean Scouts, if you have a lot of Fiery Impulse, those types of cards really force through the Glory Chaser, and then having it on turn 1, even if you're on the draw, is quite powerful. But if your deck doesn't have cards like that, then you're probably going to want to take it out on the draw.
Speaking of which, Subterranean Scout right on time, making the Goblin Glory Chaser unblockable for the turn. Infectious Bloodlusted Goblin getting in as well. Let's see if Huey wants to make a double block here. And of course, if the Infectious Bloodlust goes to the graveyard, if Jacob Wilson has another one, he's able to search his library, put that one into his hand.
And now, what did the Subterranean Scout target here?
It was the Goblin Glory Chaser.
Okay.
Looks like Huey's just content taking the damage. He's already down to 8 life.
It seems like he has a pretty explosive turn on the way, though, with the double Titan Strength there alongside Majoring Bully. If he's able to get in with the Majoring Bully, he's going to be, like, each of those Titan Strengths represents an additional 4 damage. So right now, that Majoring Bully could hit for 10 damage.
Wow.
So if he's able to concoct a board state where he doesn't die on the following turn, and then he can get in with the Majoring Bully the turn after, then he could very easily win this game. So what we may see happen is we may see him just attack with the Bully and a single Goblin. Then he may try to chump the 3/2 Goblin on the following turn. And then the next turn, he may use Subterranean Scout, targeting his Majoring Bully, and then use 2 copies of Titan Strength to see if he can finish off Jacob Wilson here.
And of course, Majoring Bully has to attack each turn if able. Wilson signifying he might have a Celestial Flare. He also only has access to 1 red, so who knows if the double white is actually relevant here. Jensen laying down his 4th land for the turn. Contemplating the best move. He is, again, really low on life already, 8. Jacob Wilson sitting at a pretty comfortable 17, I'd say.
And because the Majoring Bully has to attack each turn, we may see a Titan Strength just get used on a Goblin if Subterranean Scout ends up blocking the Majoring Bully.
Sure.
That is not how Huey's trying to draw this one up, though.
Yeah, he's just going to send in the whole team here. Who needs to block when you can attack? So no pump spell post-combat. Goblin Pile Driver. That's, I guess, quite a nice one when you have a Goblin fodder already.
Yeah, now the name of the game is surviving this turn for Huey.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what his draw step is, he could just win completely out of nowhere on the following turn, especially if he's able to connect with more than one thing.
Sure. All right, Wilson going to his combat step, leaving everything, or sorry, sending everything but one Goblin. Now remember, the Goblin Glory Chaser cannot be blocked by only one creature. It has to be blocked by 2 or more.
Yeah, and I think Huey's just going to go to 1 here.
Looks like Jensen says no effects. Takes the 7. We'll see if he can finish off Jacob Wilson this turn. That's a tough order.
It's not easy to do. Going to be interesting, though. I think, okay, so if he blocks with... I believe he does have the 2 copies of Titan Strength. So the Majoring Bully does represent 10 points with the Subterranean Scout if he has 2 copies of Titan Strength. But then he still needs to get an additional 3 in, which seems pretty hard to do here.
And of course, Wilson with that stalwart Avon presenting lethal just by itself, even though it only has 1 power. Jensen being on mono red. Not going to have the best options to deal with that, save for like a lightning javelin, but that will leave him tapped out and dead on board after the Majoring Bully attacked.
Yeah, 2 great starts for these 2 players in this game, but the turn 1 Goblin Glory Chaser and having the play really put Jacob Wilson pretty far ahead here. And we could see Jacob Wilson win his first match of the tournament right here against Hall of Famer Huey Jensen.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. This is only game 1. He still has time to lose. If we're looking at the top scoreboard, Matt Nass takes game 1 versus Owen Turtenwald.
It's a race against time, though. If Sam and Matt are able to win their matches before Jacob can seal up the second game, then he'll forever be without a match win at this tournament.
Yeah, you said Matt Nass and Sam Pardee were saying that Jacob is 0-7-3 in this tournament.
Yeah, so that means each of them are either like 10-0 or 9-1 or one of them had to pick up 1 loss.
Yeah.
Maybe they both got it out of the way in the same round. Be quite lucky.
Not only are they winning more, but they're also finishing their games faster. Right? It's the old double whammy.
Jacob even took the red-white duck this time.
Yeah. It's funny when 2 aggressive decks like this collide. There are very, very skill-intensive decisions you need to make, and the smallest mistake could cost you the game.
Yeah, a lot of people like to think that aggressive red strategies are easier to play than other decks, and while it's true that there may be less decisions, each of those decisions carries significantly more weight than when you're playing with another deck, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier. In fact, a player who has very good race math skills is often a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. That looks like William Huey Jensen's going to make a play here. So he does have that scout that you were talking about. Pile driver in conjunction with all those goblins. Definitely a thing. All right. Enthralling Victor stealing the goblin token from Jacob Wilson's side, setting in all his team. So the goblin pile driver is very large. Kind of a forced block here if he doesn't want to take,
and that's it.
An absurd amount of damage. And Jensen's like, all right, you got me.
Yeah, he needed blocks to go his way there, and he just wasn't able to seal it up.
Good overview of the players. Jacob Wilson with a little smile over to Sam. I won a game.
Yeah.
I won a game.
Did you see that?
It was game 1.
You guys see that?
Let's go to our C game, Reed Duke versus Sam Pardee. And wow, we have a renowned Outland Colossus for Sam, who also has an Alhalmorat and a Undercity Troll. Jeez, just look at his graveyard too.
Wow, there's a Sky Snare Spider I see, alongside a Void Mage,
Leaf Gilder,
Water Courser, and
another water courser.
Oh, wow.
So just the power level of Sam's deck is very, very high right now. That's not to say Reed Duke's deck isn't good. He has, well, I guess his creatures aren't as impressive as sort of the animist on his side may be the reason why he has so many more lands than Sam. Remember, they're on game 1 still.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a grindier matchup. Whichever match has the green-black deck in it will usually be going the slowest.
Sure. And we've seen that time and time again, especially yesterday, like with Mike Sigrist's green-black deck.
Yeah, when Mike Seagrass played against Samuel Tharnaratnam, we watched that green-black mirror toward the end of yesterday. That was a great match to watch.
So Reed does have an answer to the 5/5 flyer. I think it also nets him 2 life there. Yeah, he has double Reeve Soul and double Unholy Hunger in his deck, both in the graveyard right now.
You're going to get to search up another land here. Thinning out his library quite nicely. Now we see he's already got 10 in play, which means there's probably only 7 lands left in his deck. So his draw steps are much more live than those of Sam Pardee. And it looks like neither of these players have any cards in hand at this point.
Yeah. And I think at the top of the screen we see a Claustrophobia Sky Snare Spider. So Reed with his own spider. That Outland Colossus, though, gonna need to be blocked for the rest of the game, pretty much. It would leave Reed at 1. Oh, and a Disperse.
Yep, and that looks like it's lethal.
Yep, no creatures left for Reed, no cards in hand, and that's gonna be 14 damage. Alrighty. So Matt Nass, Jacob Wilson, Sam Pardee all take their game 1s. I think we're kind of secretly hoping that Matt and Sam, if they are going to win before Jacob. Once again.
Oh, don't say it aloud. Don't jinx it.
All right.
You never talk about the no-hitter while it's in progress.
Let's go to your A game. Owen Turtenwald versus Matt Nass. Again, Matt Nass up a game. And it looks like his board position is definitely stronger than Owen's, who only has a returned Centaur. I see that Blazing Hellhound, which we can assume if Matt's playing red-black, he probably has some synergies with it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that card is a great card to build around, because even if you don't get the pieces that go well with it, it just happens to be pretty decent on its own.
Agreed. Yeah. I took a look at Owen's deck list earlier, and as you can see, he has the Blightcaster Ori in the graveyard, and he has some number of enchantments as well. So he went with the black-white enchantment theme.
Yeah, I believe he even has Sigil of the Empty Throne in his deck.
Ooh. Now that is definitely a spicy one. I like taking that card early in draft, but in a sealed format, yeah, if you're able to pull together enough enchantments.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about sealed, is that you get to just see it laid out right in front of you. Like, oh, do I have this deck?
Just a Topin Freeblade from Owen. Matt Nass weighing his options. He does have 2 evasive creatures. Owen already on 15. Matt still sitting at 20. We got a 5-drop incoming, it looks like.
And Matt looks to be in pretty good shape here. But, I mean, there's still a lot that could happen. It's pretty early on in this game.
All right, Matt's going to swing in with the team. The 2 flyers going to go unhindered, but double blocks on the Blazing Hellhound. Ooh. And an Unholy Hunger on the Returned Centaur is going to get a nice 2-for-1 for Matt, who leaves Owen empty boarded.
And that's the nice thing about instant speed removal spells, is that you can set up those types of plays where you get more than one card for them. And you'll see the best players in the world repeatedly looking for opportunities to get 2 cards out of their removal spell. A lot of the time, your opponent will attack you with a creature that's smaller than your blocker, and telegraphing that they have a pump spell. You can just take the damage the next turn you pass the turn, leaving open the mana for your instant speed removal spell. They'll follow through and attack again. You block, they use a pump spell, you use your removal spell, you get a nice 2-for-1. There, it's a more simple situation where you just get to attack with everybody, and the obvious block for your opponent would be a double block, and then you get to pick up the 2-for-1 with your Unholy Hunger.
Sure, that's a great point. But sometimes you need to make that double block, especially if you don't have anything. Would you have made that block there by Owen?
I think I would. I mean, you're at 15. Your opponent has a superior board presence. It's pretty hard to imagine a situation where you're not going to want to just block there.
Sure, absolutely. And I think Matt has another Unholy Hunger in his hand. All right, we see Owen with a Cruel Revival. And he does have a zombie in his graveyard, Fleshbag Marauder.
That's a pretty nice one to have.
Yeah. Of course, Blazing Hellhound cannot sacrifice itself. Post-combat, Matt's going to play a Shambling Ghoul, leaving up 3 mana.
Shambling Ghoul is a card that has impressed me quite a bit also. Trumps a lot of the other 2-drops in this format.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. As long as you're on the play, it just blocks all of the crazy 2-drops that can renown, like the Crowan Sergeant, the Topin Freeblade. Good turn from Owen here, playing a 2/2 Blessed Spirits, which can block both of the flyers, and then the Guardians of Meletus, which just completely blanks that 2/3. I think I might see an active treason in Matt's hand. He was looking for an opportunity to use that with the Blazing Hellhound, but he just didn't have a good one.
Yeah, there was never really a good enough card on the other side of the table for him to go ahead and fire that off as a removal spell. A lot of the time when you're using Hellhound alongside a card like Active Treason, you get some really insane value. Like you're able to steal a very large creature, attack with it, deal a bunch of damage, then sacrifice that creature and get a Thopter token or something like a Fleshbag Marauder or Deadbridge Shaman.
Yeah. We were talking about Active Treason earlier. Maybe not standalone very powerful, but in conjunction with cards like Blazing Hellhound, definitely very good. Unholy Hunger number 2 going to take out the Blessed Spirits. That's going to make an all-out attack with his flyers. And we'll see what Owen can do. We know he has that Fleshbag Marauder in hand from the Cruel Revival.
And interestingly enough, the Fleshbag Marauder probably just dealing with Shambling Ghoul in this situation. I think that Matt has, air superiority here.
Well, that's a great point, yeah. Matt would probably just want to keep his evasive creatures, although one of them, the Fetid Imp, is going to eat a weight of the Underworld.
And now it's a long road ahead before you can kill your opponent with just that single Thopter token. That's going to be a lot of attack steps.
In for 1. Go down to 8. All right, second main land. Guardians of Meletus, not exactly the best active treason target. We'll see if Owen can stabilize. All right, he is going to cast that Fleshbag Marauder. And you are absolutely correct, Matt. Sacking the Shambling Ghoul, realizing his evasive creature is a little bit better. But a nice play by Owen.
Yeah.
Who follows up with a Stalwart Aven to blank the Thopter. We see a reverse Cruel Revival, getting back that Shambling Ghoul now.
In Cruel Revival, when you get to return a zombie, just so incredibly powerful, especially as an instant.
Absolutely. Matt continuing to peck away with that 1/1. Shambling Ghoul returns again, as does a Gear per Gear Crafter. All right.
Gear Crafter matching up very well against this Marauder on Owen's side of the board.
It looks like Owen might have multiple Grasp of the Hieromancers in his hand.
Yeah, I think his hand is just a pair of them.
Ugh.
And that does not bode well for him. I mean, if he's able to draw a card like Sigil of the Empty Throne off the top, then he'll be in a great position, but he really only has one turn to do it at this point.
But of course, the Active Treason, we know that's on Matt's side.
Yeah, and that's going to be it.
And that's the first match between these two teams. Matt Nass defeating Owen Turtenwald 2-0. Another overview of the players here.
It looks like the middle match might be going to game 3 here. I see the two of them shuffling up.
Yeah, they were either they're sideboarding for a long time or they're going to game 3, which makes sense. This time Huey was on the play. Let's go down to game number 2. It looks like between Reed Duke and Sam Pardee. Looks like both players have Sword of the Animist in their deck.
Yeah, and this is very interesting. I mean, here Reed Duke playing the green-black deck even has a Leaf Gilder to accelerate his mana, and still look how far behind he is on lands. That Sword of the Animist just churning away. And here those lands actually represent very real cards because Matt Nass, or rather Sam Pardee, is going to be able to just power out basically his whole hand, get it onto the table.
Yeah, and you know what? Pumping up a Water Courser, giving it power and toughness is so good because, you can filter that blue, or that toughness rather, into power at some point.
Yeah, and you're guaranteed to have the blue mana to do so because the Sword of the Animist
nice little wombo
it.
combo there, I guess. Yeah. Separatist Void Mage bouncing the Leaf Gilder, setting back Reed quite a distance.
And yeah, luckily for Reed, he did draw that 4th land on this turn. So, still though, without double green, he's going to be in a bit of a pickle. I think he may just end up casting something like Elvish Visionary, looking for another forest here, and that'll allow him to also cast the Leaf Gilder. Otherwise, he's only just going to have a single spell turn.
Sure. If we take a look at Reed's deck, does he have anything that can come back from this sort of tempo? Because we know from last game that Sam has very, very powerful top-end cards.
Yeah, I mean, he has a bunch of Deadbridge Shamans, which, would do pretty well here, though not wonderfully. And he just has some big green guys. You know, he has Sky Snare Spider,
Okay.
but this does not look good at all.
No. And you know what? Reed made the play that you had suggested, playing the Elvish Visionary, hoping to hit that second forest, I think, in order to follow up with his Leaf Gilder on the same turn. But unfortunately for him, that's not the case. And after Sam attacked, he plays a post-combat Alhamret.
And it's interesting because, like, on the last turn, when Reed made that play with the Elvish Visionary, yes, this is a significantly worse play than playing something like just Leaf Gilder to get yourself ahead on mana. But the opportunity to hit that forest and have a chance of winning the game is way more effective to actually attempting to win the match than just playing a Leaf Gilder and saying go and essentially conceding to your opponent who's about to cast 6 or 7 drop after having attacked with the sword.
Now remember, this is on curve. This is turn 5, I believe. Maybe turn 4 for Sam. Right? Because Reed's hit every... Yeah. So that's sort of the Animus has done some absurd work. Sam's deck list containing a bunch of powerful top-end cards like we were mentioning before. If we take a look...
And when you get the sword going early, it really is like, you know, drawing a card and putting yourself ahead on mana every single turn, and just such a powerful effect. That's a card I could really see having some constructed applications.
Yeah, for sure. The Outland Colossus we had seen in the previous game, as is the Sky Snare Spider. Those are his big green cards, and of course the Alhamret High Arbiter was also seen last game.
So Alhamret named Dwynen's Elite.
Okay, here. And of course, that's the 2-drop in Reed's hand.
And I think that puts up the best blocking force for the mana here. I think ideally Reed would have wanted to cast Deadbird Shaman and Dwynen's Elite on this turn. But that's not going to happen now that Alhamret has been cast.
Yeah, now Reed might be forced to play the Deadbridge Shaman and the Leaf Gilder, which he might have to chump with. And he does not want to lose a Leaf Gilder in this position. Remember, if Sam wins this before Jacob Wilson can finish his match.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm really hoping for is that they top 4 this Grand Prix without Jacob having won a match yet.
That would be
I
silly.
think he might be the first person to ever get into the elimination rounds of a premier level tournament without having actually won a match.
Little asterisk by his name, 074, going into round 12. Evolving Wilds popped up at the end of the turn for Sam. Draws his card. Access to, well, a lot of mana. 3, 6, 9 it looks like. And if we didn't see any tempo, yeah, Claustrophobia on the Deadbridge Shaman. An all-out attack here. Trigger on the Sword of the Animist.
And that Water Courser is going to get chumped here. Otherwise, Reed just dies.
Falling to 3 here. Effectively dead. And is there anything in Reed's deck that can... Is there anything in the format even that can come back from this that Reed has?
There's nothing in his deck. I mean, now even Languish wouldn't be good enough.
Sure. Reed draws for the turn. Let's see what he can come up with. Extends the hand, and that's going to be the match.
Nice, and they're both able to finish their matches before Jacob Wilson there. So Jacob Wilson still has not won a single match here this weekend.
I think he's just going to play this out.
I think
so that he can say, well, you know, guys, I did that one, if he wins.
So Matt Nass, Jacob Wilson, and Sam Pardee defeat the Peach Garden Oath, Owen Turtenwald, Huey Jensen, and Reed Duke here. There's still a game happening, though, between Jacob Wilson and Huey Jensen, so maybe we could take a look in on that and check out what's going on. All right, well, it seems that I don't think the game is necessarily... Okay, we're going to jump in and check out what's happening on Table B here.
Just give you some more content. And last round, Owen, William, and Reed, they lost against what we're affectionately calling the Pork Ben Oath. Is that correct?
I like it. I like it. I actually, I mean, considering this match does not have implications to the match result, I have an interesting story from last round.
Sure.
So the team of David Ochoa, Josh Utter-Layton, and Joshua Cho.
Yeah.
They're going pretty deep here this weekend. I believe they're still at XN2. They may be at XN1. This is a great team. Tons of people who have been Platinum Pros at some point or another. And Lots of Pro Tour top 8s between them. So Josh Cho and David Ochoa had finished their matches, and they were all done, and they're sitting behind Josh Layton, and they're helping him with all of his decisions. He's in a really tight game 3. He finally stabilizes at 2 life, and then his opponent top decks a dragon, and he loses the game, and he's just crushed. Now he's out of contention for top 4 of the tournament. He was really hoping to get there this time, and he just has his head in his hands, and they're walking, and they're all going out. They're walking to the water fountain, and Josh is just really upset, and David's like, Josh, why are you so upset? And he's like, well, I wanted to win. Sometimes it's hard to take a loss like that. And David's like, we did win that match. Cho and I both won our matches. We were just helping you play your game 3 out. So unbeknownst to him, he had actually won the match, and his teammates were just messing with him there.
All right, looks like Jacob Wilson is finally going to take a match. Double Infectious Bloodlust on a Stalwart Haven. Smiles all around. Huey knows.
So does this one count? I mean, his teammates did finish their matches. I believe that this was an on-camera victory, which may give it a little more weight. But I think that his teammates will actively remind him after the match that the match was over when he completed that 3rd game.
That was round 11 here at Grand Prix Detroit, friends. We'll be back after this.